So fat cat bonuses, government bailouts, mind-boggling bank fees. They've got plenty of regular people wanting to bring the big banks to their knees.
And a group that includes blogger Ariana Huffington thinks it has the formula for revenge. It says every American needs to take his money out of those big behemoth bailed out banks and invest instead in local community banks.
The group has even made a website called MoveYourMoney.info. Huffington says this is populism at its best. When all that cash leaves the coffers of the big banks, Wall Street will get the message, but others doubt the campaign will have any impact.
Here with both sides of the argument, Nico Pitney, who's a senior news editor for the Huffington Post, and Martha White, who's a columnist for thebigmoney.com. Nico, let's begin with you. What would you consider success? I mean, how much money would the big banks have to lose in order for you to consider this action a success?
I don't think it's about money at this point. I mean, as with any movement, it typically starts with a small group of folks, and you know, once some momentum is seen, the players get frightened and start to make changes. And what we're already seeing, there was a report yesterday in a New York affiliate that said 30 people were coming in every day to change, to start up a new account at a community bank. And the local banks there, were seeing it across the board. People are very motivated to do this. And of course it can be a pain in the butt to change banks. There are some obstacles, but people are doing it, and it's very exciting to watch. People feel empowered by this.
And that's great. But Martha, you know, do you think that this would have a big impact on the banks? After all, if you look at their earnings, I mean, they make most of their money from IPOs, from Wall Street, you know, from trading, from all kinds of different things. They don't actually make most of their money from deposits.
No, it's not a significant portion. If you take a look at just one of the big four, Bank of America, the largest bank in the U.S. by volume, they've got between 1.3 and 1.5 trillion in both assets and liabilities. Depository accounts, known as transaction accounts, which is the type of accounts that we're talking about when people say move your money. We're talking about checking accounts, savings accounts. These are in the neighborhood of 83 billion. It's a very small slice.
But what if you're just sending the message that you're unhappy with the way that the big banks are lobbying the government against reform? And besides that, these small local community banks are the ones who give out loans to small businesses. I mean, your local plumber who wants to expand his business may go to the small community bank and having more deposits. Martha, is there a point to having more deposits at the community bank level?
I don't think this is the problem here. Chief Executive Officer of the Independent Community Bankers Association told the Washington Post just a couple of weeks ago that the problem isn't a lack of funds on their end, it's a lack of demand. And if you force community banks, or any banks for that matter...
Okay, but doesn't that address that problem then? If all of a sudden on social media, on Twitter, if everybody's talking about moving their money to small community banks, that doesn't all of a sudden on their own, Nico, maybe this is the point. Then you're reminding the plumber who wants to expand his business, go to the credit union down the street.
I mean, there are a variety of benefits. I think one of them is the better service, the lower fees that you get with community banks, the ability to call up and actually talk to a human being easily. But another element is that big banks, they don't make most of their profits based on the amount that someone has in their account. They make it off of things like overdraft fees, which affect a very small proportion of their customers. And so if that particular slice of customers starts to move towards community banks, these larger banks can be hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think the points Martha make, her basic point is this might be tough and it may not be completely successful. Well, obviously, I think that's pretty clear. But that's what, in part, what we're trying to do is motivate people and let them know it is pretty simple to do.
But Nico, I mean, you want to be careful not to punish yourself. We were interviewing someone last week who went to a community bank, and they said, you know, while it can be great, at the same time, you know, when they had erroneous charges, when they had problems with the bank, it was a lot harder to get things rectified because it's just smaller, it's less automated, there's less people working there. So it can be difficult to do business with a smaller bank as well.
It can be. I mean, you look at the customer satisfaction surveys, and you know, typically these community banks do extremely well. Obviously, they're not perfect. We're not saying you're going to go and it's a complete paradise, but it's a much more, you know, their banking. I think that it reflects people's values in the sense that they're more conservative with their dealings, and of course on the customer service side, you do have much higher ratings and people are satisfied.
And Nico, bottom line, is this about big bank revenge?
No, I saw that, and I wanted to say, for some people, it's about revenge, and my heart goes to them. But this is also about a better banking system and a better experience for customers.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, vote with your wallets. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Thanks to both of you for joining us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Delta Airlines is upping its